Hello, viewers, and welcome back to American City History. We have moved on to the next city in California, which is Los Angeles, also called LA. LA is in Southern California. The city's overall area goes from the Pacific Ocean to the nearby mountains. It has a Mediterranean climate with hot summers and mild winters. The area has been inhabited by the Chumash and Tongva Native Americans for thousands of years. Los Angeles was first discovered by Portuguese explorer Juan Rodriguez de Cabrillo in 1542, who did not settle. The first settlement was created by Spanish explorer Gaspar de Portola, who established an outpost. The outpost was small and only grew later in 1781 when 44 settlers came in from northern Mexico and built a farming settlement. The settlement was given the extremely long name of El Pueblo de Nuestra Señora la Reina de los Ángeles de Porciuncula, or the town of Our Lady of the Queen of the Angels of Porciuncula, in English. This would later be shortened to Los Angeles. Two missions were established in the area called Mission San Fernando and Mission San Gabriel. The settlement would slowly grow. In 1821, Mexico gained independence from Spain and California was a part of it. Los Angeles was made the capital of the nearby region. In 1846, the Mexican-American War began. California would briefly secede from Mexico as an independent country before being willingly annexed into the U.S. along with the other territories in the Mexican secession. In 1848, gold was discovered in the Sacramento Valley in Northern California. While Los Angeles was not near to the gold, it was a major agricultural hub, which provided much of the food for the growing cities in the north. The city continued to grow throughout the 1800s. In 1850, California became a state. During and around the Civil War, Los Angeles and Southern California as a whole was a major hub for Confederate sentiment in the West. This would lead to the creation of the California Column, which I've already made a video on. In 1881, the Southern Pacific Transcontinental Railroad reached Los Angeles, which connected it to the eastern part of the country. This led to the city having large amounts of growth, and many Easterners came in the hopes of getting rich from agriculture. This growth would expand, with the Los Angeles stop being added to the Santa Fe Railroad in 1885. Oil was discovered in the area in 1892. The city had large amounts of growth, and by the turn of the century, the population was over 100,000. Movie companies began to move to the city to escape Thomas Edison's monopoly over the film industry. In 1910, when Hollywood merged into Los Angeles, there are already 10 movie companies in the area. All the farming and people required a lot of water, which the city simply didn't have. This led to the construction of the Los Angeles Viaduct in 1913, which carried water from the Owens Valley about 200 miles away. Famed director D.W. Griffith began filming movies in the city, thanks to the great weather and low wages. The oil industry grew in the 1920s, mainly thanks to Edward Doheny, who just so happened to also be involved in the Teapot Dome corruption scandal. In 1924, LA's population reached 1 million. By the 1920s, 80% of global film industry was based in the Los Angeles area. This film industry would get the city through much of the Great Depression. The city had a large electrified rail system that quickly grew. In 1932, Los Angeles hosted the Summer Olympics. During the Second World War, the port of Los Angeles was a major center for the production of Liberty and Victory cargo ships. The city was also a production center for aircraft. In 1943, a mob of white servicemen brutally attacked Latino workers on the ships in what was known as the Zoot Suit Riots. In the 1950s and 60s, the city and overall metropolitan area had great amounts of growth thanks to the fast-growing film industry and highways moving into the city. In 1965, racial tensions in the city led to the Watts riots, which led to 34 deaths and many injuries. The city had major urban sprawl, and nearby areas became very suburbanized. In 1969, the first ever internet message was sent from UCLA over ARPANET to Menlo Park. In 1974, the city elected its first African-American mayor, Tom Bradley. In 1984, Los Angeles hosted the Summer Olympics again and will for a third time in 2028. In 1992, a videotape was released to the public showed the brutal beating of an innocent African-American man named Rodney King by police. This led to mass protests across the city. Many of these protests turned into riots, which led to the destruction of many businesses. This led to the famous rooftop Koreans. In 1994, a 7.4 magnitude Northridge earthquake struck the city, which led to over $12 billion in damage and 72 deaths. The city continued to have large amounts of growth up until today. Today, Los Angeles is the largest city in California and the second largest in the country behind New York. The city proper has a population of around 4 million, but the metropolitan area has almost 20 million. I hope you enjoyed this video.